do. I think that's what it is.
I know that feeling, dude.
Yeah.
When I tried doing that, October, I was like, man, I'm going to feel great not drinking at all. I got to the end of it. I'm like, yeah, I feel exactly the same.
People say all the time, like, oh yeah, if you just stop drinking, I feel so much better. And I'm like, I try that and it doesn't do anything. I think you're right. I just feel good enough usually.
Yeah. Well, and the problem is those people are the ones that are probably like falling asleep half on the bed each night. Of course you're going to feel better if you're not drinking anymore.
I suppose that's probably true also. Just
drinking. But I'm saying like you have to gauge, like if someone's telling me that, if someone's like, dude, I feel great, I haven't had a drink in a month. Like, first of all, good for you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Second of all, I'd like to know how much you were drinking to feel that significant a difference.
Right. True. Good point.
Yeah. Cause, I mean, hey, you show up to work every day.
Right.
Anyway, hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Stochastic.com NFL Live Before Lock Showdown edition. Oh man, dude, I feel a cold coming on.
Oh no.
I told Jordan, but here's the problem with that. Like they say to get, and I get, by the way, I don't get sick frequently. Like I'm healthy enough, but it's this change of the seasons. I live in the Northeast. I'm sure many of you can relate to this. Neil, you just had something change of the season. I know it's COVID, but still.
Yeah.
Change of this, which is at this point a cold. Change of the seasons. Every year I get some type of cold. Like every year from that fall into winter type deal around this time.
Yep.
It'd be nice, it'd be fine if I could just sleep it off. But my wife is being induced on Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
And
Good luck with that.
Fucking newborn coming, man. I'm just praying to God that I wake up tomorrow. Because you can always tell the onset of a cold. You get that like throat kind of.
It starts with the throat for me too.
Oh, right. Okay. They said, I was reading about it. They say 1 in 3 people, it starts with like the tickly or sore throat. So I get that feeling. And then then you just get anxiety because you're like, colds aren't debilitating to the point where you're dead, but they last for damn near 2 weeks, dude.
Yeah. It's just not fun. Like you forget about it when you're healthy. You take your health for granted most of the time. And then as soon as you get sick, it's like, oh my God, I just want to like not feel shitty. I just want to feel normally. I don't know. It's weird.
The best days of my life though are like the first day and then the week after I feel fully good again after being sick, because you don't take feeling normal for granted.
Suddenly it's like, this is so amazing. I'm going to live life to the fullest. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then 2 days after that, I'm like, hey, let's have some beers, boys.
Exactly.
Anyway, happy to have you guys with us. Hey, we finally got the full allotment of time for us today. So I feel like we can get ourselves a better show in. Phenomenal football game. Philadelphia Eagles, Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl rematch. This should be good. No Dallas Goedert for Philly, but aside from that, most of these teams are mostly healthy across the board outside of some defensive players that we can get into. But before we do, take 1 single second here. Atone for your sins this lovely Monday evening from the sin bin and hit that thumbs up. That's all I ask. Hit that thumbs up. Just tap it once. If you hate this show, hit the thumbs down, but make sure to hit it twice and subscribe to the channel. Greatly appreciated for all you guys who support the show. How you feeling today, man?
I'm feeling pretty good. Yeah. I mean, speaking of like just coming off being sick, and I've still got the lingering cough, which is annoying only because I do shows. Like most of my life, I don't even remember that I have it. And then I'll just be doing a show, doing like a 7-minute VOD. And the midway through, I start like coughing out my lung. And so other than that, I feel great. Obviously very excited for this Monday Night Football matchup relative to most of the primetime games we've had this week. I mean, Thursday night, of course, we said the same thing. And then we watched all of our stars get hurt. So it was a little bit less fun than we anticipated. Hopefully we don't see that tonight, because I'm very excited about this one. How you doing?
Doing good, man. People are telling me you're taking the wrong supplements if you're sick for 2. All right. Look, I understand the supplement game. Trust me. It's usually like 8 to 10 days. I exaggerate, but a common cold lasts for like 7 to 10 days. I'm sorry that you guys have super immune systems. Please forgive me, but I'm okay. Look, I'm fine. Maybe I'll be fine. I hope I'm fine, because I'm not going to be able to sleep this shit off. But no, I'm all right. I'm happy to look. I'm glad to be talking some football today. It's a great game. That's all that matters. Einsteinium had a super chat. Did you answer that already? I saw someone say thanks for answering. Where was the super chat?
No, I have not. I didn't see the super chat.
All right. Oh, great question from Einstein. Coming out of a bye, do you think Hurts is healthier and we see more rushing upside tonight? I'm trying to figure out. Wait, I'm trying. Why is optimal percentages so low? I'll be honest, I do. I did a betting video today over on the Odd Shopper channel. I took over 36.5 rushing yards. He had 15 for 70 and 3 rushing touchdowns in the Super Bowl against this Chiefs defense. It's a great defense, but at the same time, you had Hurts playing and practicing with a knee brace. He hasn't been practicing with a knee brace, had a full bye week, so they haven't played in 2 weeks to recover from that, recuperate. And another thing is, Kansas City, good secondary, very good overall defense, but good secondary. They do allow 4.6 yards per attempt on the ground. I think this is going to be a game with design runs for Hurts. I think he's going to be forced to run, getting flushed out of the pocket. Yes, I do personally think that we see Hurts run more coming off the bye week, Neil.
We can hope for it. And quarterbacks tend to run a little bit more when they need to. And certainly this is a game where, honestly, you'd expect both quarterbacks to just be a little bit more willing to run, just because they're going to need to, because it's going to be a very competitive game. So yeah, I because of the competitiveness of the game, I could see it.
Yeah, a little bit of weather in this game is chat. Kirk, if you're sick for 8 to 10 days, you're not drinking enough alcohol. Kills everything. There you go.
Exactly. That's my philosophy.
Yeah, right. There you go. That's a solid comment. Yeah, the weather in this one, I'll be honest, I'm not really concerned too much about it. Matter of fact, I saw the total actually creep up a little bit from 45 and a half to 46 in some spots. This is not like with me, Neil, wind is much more of a factor. If you've got like strong swirling winds, but I haven't seen anything to indicate, particularly from the total, that we should be super concerned about weather in this one.
Yeah, I haven't either. I think that, if you want to factor it in, sure, you want to play more defenses, but I'm not really expecting it to be a huge impact on this game.
Last time, I can't remember. I do know what it was. Actually, it was you and me doing this show, and I think it was actually Carolina, Atlanta. It was last year, like mid-season, Panthers, Atlanta, and there were a lot of questions of like, man, do we fade kickers in this game because the rain is coming on? It's supposed to be a huge storm and windy. Well, one of the kickers ended up being the optimal captain in that game. I think that's the right game. It's just the way it goes, So unless the total's dropping considerably, unless the wind is terrible or it's like torrential downpours or snow, like that Philly snow game against the Lions where 8 inches, 10 inches came out of nowhere, I'm not super concerned. Anyway, I want to kick it off with Hurts and Mahomes here and get your overall take on the top tier options today, because on the Chiefs, you have 2. That's it. You have Patrick Mahomes and you have Travis Kelce. That's it. On the Eagles side, you have Jalen Hurts, you have A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith, who I know you sent that tweet to me earlier. We can get into that. I still think Devontae Smith, whether he has a huge game or not, really is besides the point. He still shouldn't be $1,200 cheaper than A.J. Brown. Like, he should be.
Right.
By the way, I'm saying he should be more than $1,200 cheaper than A.J. Brown. With or without Goddard, this is still a guy in A.J. Brown that has 45% air yards share. Just go look at yards per route run. Go look at targets per route run, target share, everything. A.J. Brown has strictly dominated week in and week out. So just my thoughts early on, but what are you doing with the top tier, and how easy is it to get to, 3 of these studs today and then build around that? 4 of these studs, maybe even.
I don't think it's that easy to get to. I mean, depending on who the studs are, it's very difficult to get to like the top 3 studs, both quarterbacks with Travis Kelce or A.J. Brown. You're really sacrificing elsewhere if you go there, because we have some, the true studs, the quarterbacks are pretty expensive. So it is a little bit hard to get there. To your point, I'm looking at expected fantasy points for the year. A.J. Brown, expected fantasy points, 180 through 9 games. So expected fantasy points of 20 per game. Devontae Smith, 102. So expected fantasy points, 11 per game. Both of them have actually outperformed their expected fantasy points. Just thought that was kind of interesting. I guess the two, the 2 players who are kind of stand above the rest, I would say, are Mahomes and Hurts. The 2 quarterbacks look great here. We do have Mahomes optimal just under 70% of the time, about 68% of the time. We have Hertz optimal 62% of the time. I was having a conversation earlier today in DM. Somebody DMing me was like, Stochastic is thinking that Jalen Hurts is only going to be about 65 or 60% owned or something like that. And he was saying I'd be surprised if he's less than 80% owned. And I told him I think that in this case we probably have it right. Like, yeah, most games, if the Eagles are playing against most teams, it's you're going to play Hurts. Like, that's the starting point for all of your lineups. Here it's a little bit different just because we have Mahomes at 11,200. We have Kelsey at 10,000. We have AJ Brown at 10,200. And then even Devontae Smith and the running backs are there. If you want to play those guys in some lineups, you got to sacrifice somewhere. So I actually think probably Hurts will come in under 70% ownership. And we have him optimal 63% of the time also. So I guess, how do I break it down? I'm going to have more of the quarterbacks than the pass catchers of those four, of the Mahomes, Kelsey, Hurts, Brown, Devontae Smith here. I think I'm going to have the most of the quarterbacks. They are the most projectable. They are the highest projected plays on the slate, if I'm not mistaken. We have, just looking at the duels, we have Mahomes slightly over owned at captain, slightly under owned at util, 13% captain ownership, 11% captain optimal, 52% util ownership, 58% util optimal. So Mahomes looks a little bit better in the util, but honestly, I'm happy to play him either place. If I have Mahomes in the captain spot, I prefer to have multiple Chiefs pass catchers in the flex. He has shown a little bit more rushing upside this year, but still, to get there, he's mostly going to be doing it through the air. So again, I prefer to have multiple pass catchers if I have Mahomes in the captain spot. Whereas Hurts, I think, I mean, you could play Hurts naked if you really wanted to. As you said, did you say he scored 3 rushing touchdowns in the Super Bowl? That is just insane. I mean,
I'm pretty. You guys in chat can confirm that, but I'm pretty sure he had 15 for 70 and 3 scores on the ground.
That is just not. And he has, for his career, and I think this is just regular season games, but I was just looking at it, I think he has 33 rushing touchdowns in 43 career starts. It's insane how much he can score on the ground. So yeah, Hurts, you could play him naked in the captain. So I still prefer to have at least one Eagles pass catcher in the flex when I have Hurts at captain. But yeah, he is clearly one of the most elite rushing quarterbacks in the NFL. So if there's ever a quarterback that you're willing to play naked, Hurts certainly fits that bill. We have him similar to Mahomes, slightly over-owned at captain, slightly under-owned in the util. We have him at 11% captain ownership, 8% optimal, 50% util ownership, 55% optimal. So again, the best place to play him more often is going to be in the util, but I'm certainly happy to play either of them in the flex. I'd say Kelsey and AJ Brown are like, half a tier below those quarterbacks. They get so much volume. Kelsey, we actually have slight positive leverage in the captain spot. I mean, it's basically neutral, 14% captain ownership, 14% optimal. And then in the util, some nice positive leverage, 45% ownership, 52% optimal. So Kelsey looks fantastic. I don't care that Taylor Swift is not going to be there. I don't care about that. Those splits, the Taylor Swift there versus not there, not going to affect how I play Travis Kelsey here. And then AJ Brown, we actually have, or similarly, we have negative leverage in the captain spot, 13% ownership, 11% optimal, a little bit of positive leverage in the util, 43% ownership, 45% optimal. I think rank him 4th of those 4. He has the tougher matchup against that Chiefs secondary. And then Devontae Smith, I just want to because I did send you that tweet, which I forgot about it as I was writing up. I remember reading it last week and thinking that's kind of interesting. And then I sort of forgot about it. And then just before the show started, I sent it to you because I remembered, oh yeah, this tweet from Chris Wecht at Chris Wecht FF on Twitter, pointed out that in games without Dallas Goedert last year, and he was out for 5 games, Devontae Smith led the Eagles in target share, air yard share, and first read target share. Now, we know that this year AJ Brown has really separated himself, but I do think it's at least interesting to think we saw a pretty significant uptick for Devontae Smith when Dallas Goedert was out last year. Last year, he was 11th in those games when Dallas Goedert was out, 11th in the NFL in air yard share at 38%, 8th in target share at 26%, and 7th in first read target share at 34%. So they did clearly focus on Devontae Smith a little bit more when Dallas Goedert was out last year. So I do actually, I'm going to have some interest in Devontae Smith, despite the fact that we do have some negative leverage, both in the captain spot and the util. We have him 7% owned in the captain spot 5% optimal, and then 30% util ownership, 28% optimal. So a little bit of negative leverage there, but just the possibility that he continues to see elite usage when Dallas Goedert is out makes me hard not to have some interest there.
When you said first read target share there for a second, I was like, what did he just say? But you said first read target share. Okay.
It took me a second to figure out what you were saying there.
Real fast. And
yeah,
and you like condensed the syllables on target.
Yeah, I get it now as I'm listening to you say it, but yeah, it took me a second there.
Yeah. But no, look, I don't have an issue with Devontae Smith. I think a problem that I've just gotten myself into many times, Brian said he heard it too. The problem, I guess the only problem I have is not like everything you're saying makes sense. For me, it always just comes back to like okay, this could be a good leverage spot, but am I still making the mistake because he's still too he's still like AJ Brown is still the better play, even if it doesn't work out this time, if you ran this, if you ran it a million times, how many times is AJ Brown in any specific spot at such a close price point going to be, the guy? By the way, Mario said, chat confirmed it was 3 touchdowns, but Mario, I'm glad you pointed that out. I forgot. He had an octopus too. Do you know what an octopus is?
I feel like I should know. It's 8 of something, I would assume. I don't know. You can tell
That's
me.
Fine. You're not in a legal sports betting state.
Okay.
It is a touchdown and then the ensuing 2-point conversion by the same player.
Oh, interesting.
And so it's 8 points, right?
Yep.
So Eitan Shander, who's over on our Odd Shopper channel, I remember he threw this bet out there for Super Bowl. It was like 50-1. And I think he even said Hurts will have an octopus in this game, which is insane. And he did.
Yeah, that's an insane prediction. But Eitan is an insane man. That's impressive.
Eitan is an insane man, but you have to love it, dude. Andre said earlier, he's like, I can't shake the feeling, and I'm paraphrasing Andre because I'm not going to scroll up and try and find this, but I remember it vaguely. Like, I can't shake the feeling that the Eagles are just going to go run in this game. I said the same thing to Matt today. Not that I'm playing every lineup, not that I'm playing these lineups for it to happen, but I think it could be. I think that's in the realm of possibility because this is an Eagles team that when they want to can run for 200+ yards. Now, granted, Kansas City has a very good run defense. It's funny, they're only allowing 111 rushing yards per game, but they're allowing 4.6 yards per attempt. Normally, you'd go, well, yeah, that's because teams are abandoning the run. But it's not like their offense has been that great this year, Neil, right? It's not like they've had massive leads, week in and week out. But I still think there is something about DeAndre Swift here, seeing that he's getting 70% recently, essentially 70% of the snaps in most of these games. Kenny Gainwell's been a distant second. Is anybody shocked? Kenny Gainwell's average at best. And also DeAndre Swift has overtaken Kenny Gainwell in the pass catching role as well. Gainwell only averaging 10 routes run per game over the last 5 games, whereas DeAndre Swift is far ahead of him in that respect. There's something to be said about this spot where if the Eagles go, you know what? We have an amazing offensive line. We can try and overpower them. Granted, great defensive line for the Chiefs. But what if the game just breaks that way, where they go run heavy? Because we've seen them do it many times before, right? Like we saw them do it against Minnesota earlier this season when everyone thought like, oh, they're going to pick apart their secondary. They just ran the shit out of the football. They can do that if they want. Makes it an interesting spot for the backfield for Philly today.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like my instinct is to not play a ton of either of these running games just because both of these defenses are they are the in terms of schedule adjusted fantasy points per game, these are the 2 best defenses in the league at limiting running backs. So my instinct is to get away from the running backs, but it is also a unique situation with the Eagles offensive line being so good that it's like, yeah, it's like, the Chiefs have a great defense, but also with that offensive line, they still might be able to run on this Chiefs defense. So I think that's an interesting way to play it. I'm still going to be a little bit underweight to both to I think all of the running backs in this game, to be honest. I think I'm going to be a little bit underweight to the field. But certainly it wouldn't be that shocking to see the Eagles just be able to bully the Chiefs defense because they have such a great offensive line. Swift, he is like sort of a bell cow, not quite like elite level volume, but 15 carries per game, nearly 4 targets per game. That's not bad for DeAndre Swift. And you're right, like this could be a spot where they just decide, you know what, we have the offensive line to run all over them. Let's just do that. Wouldn't be all that shocking. So yeah, certainly DeAndre Swift in play, like looks good. He has good enough volume to get it done. But I'm going to be slightly underweight to the field. We have Swift at 7% captain ownership with just a 4% chance of being optimal. He looks better in the util. 32% ownership, 33% chance of being optimal. So slight positive leverage in the util, slight negative leverage in the captain spot. I don't know if I'm making a mistake. I feel like this could be something that a lot of people do, which is I just want to play these passing games. I think that is my instinct. I'm sure a lot of people are going to have that same instinct of just like, these are elite quarterbacks and with elite pass catching weapons on both sides, we should just do that. But yeah, I think that is a way to get a little bit different, is just attacking it via the run game.
Sean V, what's up, brother? I mentioned that earlier this morning, and I kind of agree with you. Matt and I differed a little bit on this. It seems Neil and I do as well. Look, since week 2, Swift is averaging 19 looks per game. You're right. Is it bell cow status in the sense of like, the insane Derrick Henry prime, No, of course not. But 19's pretty good in 2023 NFL. He's priced like it, though. He's priced like it. I'm not going to, but Sean said that you might be seeing more check down opportunities and such for Swift with Goddard out. I said the same thing this morning, that I could see this being a spot where you get to more Swift for the same reason, because the way I look at it is last year, like Miles Sanders is not a good pass catching back. And all of the good things I said about him were always followed by Ben's in chat. He will back, you guys know, it was always followed by, behind this offensive line, Miles Sanders is good. Look at him in Carolina. Stinks. And he lost the starting role to Chuba Hubbard. So, in Philly with DeAndre Swift, what if Miles Sanders just being a bad pass catching back and them not wanting Kenny Gainwell out on the field for 50% of snaps? What if that means that DeAndre Swift benefits significantly from Dallas Goedert's absence in a game like this?
Yeah, certainly could. Like they're just going to use their good skill players a little bit more, and DeAndre Swift fits that bill. So that is a good point. That is certainly within the realm of possibility here, that they just start to like change the offense up to take advantage of their best skill players now. And DeAndre Swift, yeah, could benefit for sure.
Mark said the problem with Swift is that Hurts and Gainwell vulture TDs. Yeah, sure. But at the same time, and I mentioned this morning as well, I don't think it's as bad as many of us would. I think you'd be surprised at how many opportunities Swift has seen in the red zone and towards the goal line. So not including week 1, that just doesn't count. Not including week 1, DeAndre, and then we can move on, Neil. I want to get your thoughts on these pass catchers for Kansas City, because that's where it's going to get fun and disgusting.
Yeah.
But when we have the extra time, why not break it down? Swift has 28 red zone carries this year, 25. Sorry, 19 inside the 10. 19 inside the 10. I'm not including week 1. So week 2, that's 8 games. He's averaging over 2 inside the 10 per game. He's averaging over a goal line carry per game. So it sucks that Hurts is going to vulture him for sure. Some of them, of course. And if they get to the 1, you know what the play is. It's the brotherly shove. But those aren't bad red zone volume numbers at all. Anyway, what are you doing? What are you doing with the tight ends now that Goddard is out? I mean, we talked about Devontae Smith, DeAndre Swift, AJ Brown, Jalen. I love Hurts today. How could you not? And Brown. I know you like Devontae Smith. I have no issues with it. I still prefer Brown, and I think I like Swift a little bit more than you do. But what are you doing with these guys that, the Zacchaeus and the Julio and the Jack Stahl and the Calcaterra, and is Alberto active? Do we have all 3 tight ends active today?
We sure do.
Okay, so that makes it even worse.
Yep. So this is going to be, I think everybody needs to at some point in their fantasy sports career get burned by Alberto. Tonight is the night that I'm going to let Alberto burn me because we have him at such low ownership.
Don't let David Njoku hear that.
David Njoku?
No, we'll keep going.
All right, I feel like I'm missing a reference there with David Njoku and Alberto.
No, just the whole burn you part. Anyway,
okay,
go ahead.
Okay, yeah. All right, I get it now. Yeah, Alberto. So he could not see the field. And I last night I played a ton of Jalen Naylor, who I think had played 4 snaps for the Vikings. So this is another, I could get burned 2 nights in a row by playing somebody based on what happened in the last game, thinking that that could be an indication of what happens here. So after Dallas Goedert went out last week, we saw Alberto run his first routes of the year, ran 2 routes. So not exactly a ton. If he keeps up just 2 routes per quarter, 8 per game, I don't love him at that volume, but it was at least promising to see them say, okay, Dallas Goedert is out. Let's give Alberto a shot. So the fact that we have him at 4% total ownership, 0.2% in the captain spot, 3.7% in the util, we have slight negative leverage, but the fact that we have him at that low of ownership, he's only 400, and we saw him finally get utilized a little bit in the fourth quarter of that week 9 game after Dallas Goedert got hurt in the third quarter. Maybe there's at least a chance that he's going to be there on downs when they need a tight end to run routes. There's at least some possibility that Alberto gets in there. So I'm going to use him as one of my low owned dart throw plays. I'm going to be pretty significantly over the field on Alberto. Burned me last night, but it's something that I do pretty frequently. Is if there's somebody that I can make a case for a really low owned player, seeing more volume, getting some looks, I like to take advantage of it. So I think I'm going to do that with Alberto. It is the floor is the floor. He could have 0 opportunities here. He might not be involved at all. So just know that, and that's not a remote possibility. There's a very good possibility that Alberto has 0 to 5 snaps in this game. With that said, I think he is my favorite of the tight ends, in part because we saw what happened with the other tight ends last year. We saw Dallas Goedert miss time, and in those games, it's not like Jack Stoll or Grant Calcaterra became amazing pass catching options, took on that Dallas Goedert role. In those games that Dallas Goedert missed last year, Stoll had 7 catches for 74 yards across 5 games. So that was his volume with Dallas Goedert. So we kind of know, or we have a pretty good idea that he's probably not going to step in and suddenly be some great tight end with Goddard out. And in that same span, Grant Calcaterra, 4 receptions for 41 yards. So it doesn't seem like the Eagles are ready to rely on either of these guys as great pass catching options. I think Jack Stoll is going to be on the field the most. He'll probably actually run the most routes. I just don't think that he is a receiving tight end. I don't think he's going to become, I don't think there's a possibility that he steps in and becomes somebody that you're going to ever roster on your fantasy team. So I would say my order of interest is probably Alberto, followed by Grant Calcaterra, who I think is a little bit more of a capable pass catcher, followed by Jack Stoll, even though I think Jack Stoll is going to be out on the field the most. He's also the most expensive, and I believe getting the most ownership, although I should double check that. What do we have Stoll's ownership at? Yeah, we got Jack Stoll at 6% util ownership. We have Alberto at 4%, and we have Grant Calcaterra at 6% as well. So yeah, to me, of the tight ends, my favorite is Alberto, followed by Calcaterra, followed by Stoll. And then Zacchaeus, Julio Jones, I think are both I also think there is the possibility that Julio Jones, being big bodied receiver, could step in and potentially play a little bit more, kind of take on some of that tight end role. We have Julio Jones at 7% ownership. We have Zacchaeus at 9%. Zacchaeus has kind of retained a role. I was a little bit worried about Zacchaeus losing a significant amount of his role after the Eagles signed Julio Jones. And he has seen a decrease in snaps. However, in week 9, he was still 4th on the Eagles in both route participation and target share at 43.8% route participation, 8.7% target share. So I think I prefer Zacchaeus over Julio Jones, in part because he's cheaper, in part because he leads Julio Jones in both of those metrics. But I do think there is some possibility that Julio Jones steps in and plays a little bit more of a role in replacing Dallas Goedert. So yeah, to tie a bow on it, I think of the group in total, it's probably Zacchaeus my favorite, Alberto, more of a dart throw, really long shot option who I'm going to be well over the field, but just accepting that he's pretty likely to put up a 0. And then Julio Jones, I would say, over the 2 other tight ends.
All right. Quickly here, because we got to get to KC.
Yeah.
Any interest in Kenny Gainwell?
Little bit. I'll have some shares of Kenny Gainwell. It is nice knowing that Rashad Penny is inactive, so it is really just those 2 who are likely to see any kind of volume for the running backs. Kenny Gainwell has, pretty good contingent value. If DeAndre Swift is out, he has some standalone value. He'll have some opportunities, but he's 4,400. So it's going to take more than just like a walk-in touchdown for him to get there. He'll need to have a few receptions, maybe some yardage to add on to a touchdown, and probably still needs a touchdown. So I think Kenny Gainwell is fine, but a little bit over-owned. We have him at 9% util ownership. So I'll have some shares. I'll be underweight to the field, though.
Well, if you guys aren't on Owner's Box yet, one subtle recommendation would be that you check it out. $500 first match deposit bonus. And, oh, nice. They got the Thanksgiving feast contest up. They got kickoff for Sunday up. Overlaying like crazy. I mean, that's the biggest thing here. It's just the overlay you're getting in these contests. You're getting dead money. You don't stop playing at DraftKings and FanDuel. You just supplement with a site where you go, oh, wait, it's not even close to filled yet, and it's 20K up top. I'll dabble. Why not? Super flex contest as well. You never need to play a defense. Dude, I had some sick teams this week with garbage from my defense. Meanwhile, I watched other defenses just crush. Yep. I feel like that happens every damn week, man. The variance, just such ridiculous unpredictability with that shit.
I just learned, by the way, that Alex won another milli this weekend.
Yeah, man.
I just learned that. I guess I learned it watching you and Gajeski this morning. That's pretty insane. But he got 23 fantasy points out of his defense is what made me think of that, out of the Giants defense. So yeah, defense can have an impact.
Back-to-back stochastic avatars taking the milli down week over week. That's pretty sweet. Yep. That is pretty sweet. Anyway, tonight you got 25 minutes or so to go. This is what I'm talking about. Look at some of these contests tonight. 69% filled in the stiff arm, their main contest right now. Up to a $500 first match deposit bonus, guys. It speaks for itself. Links in the description and in chat. 2 things you need to know if you're going to sign up. And you want to take advantage of the overlay, the deposit bonus. You want to get in on some super flex contests where you can play 2 QBs, do some mega game stacks, really cool stuff. 1, use the link in the description. If you have an ad blocker, just turn it off to get there, and then you can turn it back on. 2, if it asks for a promo, you don't need it. Just the link, right? If you want to grab the bonus. Also, you're getting, when you sign up too, on top of the bonus, $5 Lightning Lineups ticket. You'll understand that format when you get there. NA5 free, both of them free. $5 DFS ticket as well that you didn't have before you signed up. So check it out. Jump in those contests. 69% filled right now for the one tonight. And the one for Sunday is still 0% filled. One of 7,777. Imagine it won't finish that way, but it feels slow, man. Anyway, link in the description and in chat, ownersbox.com. Chiefs receivers. We already talked a lot about Kelsey. We're making good time here. Plenty of time for the people to get these lineups set. Jordan's going to throw the Sims up on the screen. Jordan, while we do this, feel free. People want to, go full screen and look at the exposures, look at what some of the top favorited lineups look like. Feel free to work through all that. Captain exposure, flex exposure. We've had people just look at the screen and take down contests from the lineups that they plugged in, like the dude on Owner's Box. So it could happen. Plus, the Sims tool took down a milli. Anyway, what are you doing with these pass catchers from MVS to Rashee Rice? Sky Moore played a season low 15 snaps, 25% of snaps last week. That's a tough one. And then you've just got like everybody else, Justin Watson and Noah Gray. I could go down the list. Like all of these guys, they're all essentially the same player at this point. And Rashee Rice's price tag is wild.
Yeah, I hate it so much. I say I love this game. I also kind of hate Chiefs.
I said the same thing this morning to Matt. I'm with you.
Just like it doesn't stay the same week to week. So it's like what we saw last week is not necessarily what we're going to see this week. Now we have like Mecole Hardman, kind of rejoining the team, still kind of getting, worked back in. Who knows if he sees an increase in his usage. Rashee Rice, Saw his most usage of the season in week 9. Could see a rookie bump, but I don't know that that's guaranteed. So I think probably the best play, like the objectively best, like point per dollar play of the receivers is Justin Watson. Played 63% of snaps in week 9. That was his highest snap share of the season. He was second on the Chiefs in that game behind Kelsey in route participation at 58.5%, and he was targeted 5 times, which led the team. Justin Watson, frequently targeted down the field, very alive to have 0 receptions, even if he sees a number of targets. But he can also, put up a lot of fantasy points in one play because he has such a great ADOT down the field. So I like Justin Watson the best. He has, this is for the season, the highest air yard share of all of the Chiefs, ahead of Travis Kelce, just to put things in perspective. But again, could not catch any of his balls because they're all down the field. I would say he is my favorite of the group. He is also going to get the most ownership of, I guess besides Rashee Rice. So Rashee Rice, who would be number 2 on this? So I would say Justin Watson, number 1, just because he gets such great opportunities and he's only 2,400. I think I would say he's my favorite of the Chiefs pass catchers. And it's not like he's getting crazy ownership. We have him at 18%. Let me see if that is updated. Justin Watson at, we have him at 3.3% cap ownership. Okay, 18% util ownership. Nice positive leverage for Justin Watson in both spots. 3.3% cap ownership, 5.5% capital optimal, and then 18% util ownership, 23% util optimal. So we've got positive leverage in both spots for Justin Watson. I'd say he's my favorite of the Chiefs receivers. Obviously, I'm not counting Travis Kelce as a receiver here. Number 2 would be Rashee Rice. As you said, the price point is a little bit insane in Rashee Rice at 7,400. You are kind of paying up for like projecting him to have a bigger role than he has had. But like I said, in week 9, played 68% of snaps. That was a season high for him. He also has 41 targets on the season, which is second on the team, but it's 30 behind Travis Kelce. Kelce has 71 targets, Rashee Rice 41, and then Sky Moore is third on the team with 30. That's kind of insane. How much Travis Kelce is leading the team. But if you think maybe, you can kind of anticipate a post by rookie bump, at least you can hope for that. Maybe the team schemes him in there a little bit more. I think that he's probably next in line as far as my favorites of the receivers. MVS would be third, generally just running wind sprints out there, but he is on the field a significant amount. Third in both route participation and target share in week 9. 52.9% route participation, 10% target share. He's 3,000. I think he's a fine play. Then from there, it's like, take your pick. Like these guys are just not out there very much. Sky Moore. So in week 9, Sky Moore ran 10 routes. Mecole Hardman ran 5. Kadarius Toney ran 4. I don't trust any of them at that rate, but it also would not be that shocking to see one of these guys suddenly run 25 routes and get a 50% route participation. That it's just such a moving thing for the Chiefs. They change up who's getting the looks frequently. So you can take your shots on Sky Moore, Mecole Hardman, Kadarius Toney. I have no confidence in any of them. So do you have a read on these guys, Lofty? It's hard to get a read on this receiver room.
Honestly, man, purely price for me. I have no problem going with price, looking at ownership as well. So I was trying to finalize these lineups here. Let me pull up our top play stacks tool real quick, our top single game plays tool, because I think it'll pretty much say what I'm thinking. Okay, well, so first of all, from a leverage standpoint, Hardman negatively leveraged, Toney negatively they're essentially all negatively leveraged. Sky Moore, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, if you want to talk running back there. Rashee Rice, slight negative leverage there. I mean, who's the one guy with positive leverage? Is it Watson?
Yes, Watson has nice positive leverage.
And Noah Gray at 0.8. Yeah, I like Watson the most here for 2 reasons. Second highest leverage score on the slate, number 1. Number 2, he does get downfield opportunities. Like look, no one's saying that Justin Watson is great, but he's pretty cheap. And if I had to go number 2, it's probably MVS. probably MVS for me, just because he's out on the field a lot. Like Sky Moore would be distantly behind them.
So you're not a believer in Rushy Rice, is what I'm hearing.
I think Rashee Rice is fine, but his price point is,
Yeah, no, I hear you.
his price point to me is insane. I mean, if you're playing Rashee Rice, you're doing it because you think he is the number one receiver, not Kelsey, like you said, but that he is the clear number one on this offense. And okay, so if you're right, that's great, but I don't know if that price point is viable. Like 2-target game against Miami, we saw his target share tick up. He's basically like a 5-target guy at this point. But in that offense, behind Kelsey, it's still what, like a 15% target share on a good day?
Right.
So yeah. I don't know. Look, he's found the end zone on more than one occasion. I think he has 4 scores this year. Just feels like 7,400 is a lot.
It is certainly a lot. I list him, I think, my second favorite of the receivers, just the wide receivers, not the tight ends, behind Justin Watson. I'm still below the field on Rashee Rice. I'm playing currently to put things in perspective. I'm playing 29 lineups, it looks like, tonight. I have 0 shares of Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, MVS, or Mecole Hardman. I wouldn't be shocked if I'd almost be surprised a little bit if none of them end up burning me. But I'm not playing any of them. I do have some shares of Rashee Rice, but I am still below the field. I am over the field on Justin Watson. He's the only one of these Chiefs pass catchers who I'm actually above the field on.
Jamal Parker said, thanks to Neil and Greg, I placed 9th in the DK 50 cent and turned 38 in the 150. Thanks to late ass Laffy for giving your insight. Dude, it's not my fault. And I'm here on time for all slates. Get the Sims if you haven't. That's from Jamal, not me. Appreciate you, Jamal, and congrats. Building that bankroll, awesome, baby. Yeah, guys, yeah. This is the last day that you get 20% off the Sims. It's not just the Sims. It's literally every NFL tool we have. But the Sims is kind of the crown jewel at this point. When you have 2 stochastic avatars shipping the million back-to-back weeks, one of them winning the play action for 100K, which is tougher to win than that milli, for sure. Because it was the high-entry milli. Well, no, it is. I mean, it's far tougher to win. It's
way more people in it. Yeah.
It's 500,000 entries.
Yeah.
500,000 entries. 20% off. Today is the very last day. We did this to celebrate the massive winners from week 10. And I think it made everybody here go, all right, we are on to something. Everyone felt good about it. The devs that did this, that are just, far smarter than I could ever dream of being in that respect. They did it. Like, we put this out. We're only 11 weeks into the season. It's the first year. And then that happens and you go, all right, something's working here. Greg took 100K down like the 3rd day of the season with the NBA Sims tool. So just across the board.
This past week again, 35K a few days ago.
Really?
Yeah, for Greg.
Yeah.
Yep.
For who?
Greg got another 35K like 2 or 3 nights ago.
Dude, he's been crushing. Yeah. Tool's awesome. Links in the description and chat. You want to do a week, you want to do a month. There's no add-ons necessary. You don't need an optimizer. Everything's included. 20% off last day. Check it out if you want. Link in the description and chat. All right. Hey, I wanted to mention one thing too. And thanks to you guys for getting us north of 300 likes here. I think if we had pushed harder, we'd have hit 500 easy on a big game like this. But I left it alone today, Neil. I wasn't feeling it.
All right. Yeah. If you want to hit the like button, do so. If you're not feeling it, Lofty's not feeling it, that's fine.
I hit it. Don't get me wrong. I just, people do what they want to do.
It's true. So true.
But it would be nice. I love the kickers in this game. I never hear myself say that. I never say that all that often. And I think just most people are going to go into this game with the assumption like, oh, big time shootout, big time players. Like that's what's going to happen. But Jake Elliott, as our friend Matt Gajeski would say, what a wagon, what a wagon.
Would say that. Yeah.
He's killed it all year long, man. And they have no problem trotting them out there from 50 plus every time. Chiefs have a very good defense. Eagles have a good offense. Conversely, You're talking about a good, but I think susceptible Eagles defense, but an offense in Kansas City that is sputtered out often too. Once you get in that scoring range, I think you could see Harrison Butker and Jake Elliott potentially have some really solid outings tonight. I have no issues with either of them. I'm not running out captains, Elliott and Butker, but Elliott, both of these guys have had real big games this year, and I think we would be remiss to not mention them, and we would be mistaken to just ignore them entirely just because there's a lot of good players tonight.
Yeah, I'm just realizing that in my latest crunch, I have 0 shares of either kickers, and that scares me. I might run some more crunches because I do think that I agree with you. Like both of these guys going to get a little bit overlooked. They're expensive. Like they're not the 3,500 kickers that we used to get in these showdown slates. Elliott up to 5,200, Bucker up to 5,000, but wouldn't be shocking at all to see one of these guys put up 18 fantasy points or even like 12, 15. That might be enough because the Chiefs spread the ball around, and that's as I said, I'm not really playing a ton of these Chiefs receivers. They spread the ball around so much. It's very possible that none of these guys, including Rashee Rice and Justin Watson, it's very possible that none of these guys puts up a big score. I'm not all that confident in Zacchaeus Jones, any of the cheap tight ends either. So it makes a lot of sense these could be like some of the better value options on the slate at 5,200 and 5,000. So I might do another crunch before the end of the show because it would scare me to have 0 of these guys. We especially in the captain spot, we actually have some positive leverage on both. We have Butker at 2.6% captain ownership, 5% chance of being optimal. He's neutral in util as well, about 18% ownership and optimal. Jake Elliott, we have at 1.2% captain ownership, 2.4% chance of being optimal. We actually have slight negative leverage there in the util at 17% ownership, 14% chance of being optimal. But yeah, we've got some like value options that look okay, but like none of these value options are can't miss for either of these teams. So definitely makes some sense to get to these kickers.
Yeah, I mean, look, it is what it is. It's just, people saying it's too expensive, that you need to make 4 kicks to compete in the game. Well, he's averaging, he's averaging the same amount of fantasy points as Rashee Rice this season. So that's all. Like if you looked at, and yes, I will go through game logs here just to prove a point. If you looked at Rashee Rice and Jake Elliott's game logs, you'd think it was the same person. So. And Harrison Butker's been very good as well. Both of those guys have had some great games. Both of these teams have had trouble scoring too. Like they get in the red zone and they stall a lot. We've seen that with both of them. So, anyway, who have we not talked? Oh, Noah Gray. Did we talk about Noah Gray?
We haven't really talked about Noah Gray. Yeah, he is important to talk about, I guess, sort of. I would say, so of those cheap Chiefs pass catchers, where would I rank him in terms of like relative to the rest of the pass? I still think that I'd put Justin Watson ahead of him. I might actually put Noah Gray as my second favorite of the cheap pass catchers, ahead of Rashee, or I guess of the non-Kelsey pass catchers ahead of Rashee Rice. Noah Gray 4th on the Chiefs in route participation. He is tied for 6th in target share at just 6.8% target share, but they're also not afraid to like get him weird looks in the end zone. I think that he is certainly in play. He's not like it wouldn't be at all surprising to see Noah Gray put up 0 fantasy points here, but he's on the field. He should get at least a couple targets. I think that he's fine. Probably the second safest after Justin Watson of the non-Kelsey pass catchers. None of them particularly safe though.
Look, it's not exciting, but if you're talking about all of these cheap options in Kansas City, we have to include Noah Gray in the conversation.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
As gross as it may seem, you just have to. Chris asked Watson or MVS. I prefer Watson over MVS a little bit there.
Me too.
Jerry asked Albert O. Yeah, I think Neil and I will wade into those, disease-ridden waters a little bit.
Yep. You see, we got a super chat that I don't think we have responded to. Involving Albert.
Oh, Jake, the Kelsey captain one.
Yep.
Kelsey captain, Noah Gray. Okay, so he's saying he's just asking Noah or Albert for the last spot. Noah Gray for me. But it totally depends on your lineup build. Like,
yep.
Albert O's so cheap. If you're saying, "Oh, I have it," and And like, I don't think this is going to be duped a ton if I go to Noah Gray over Alberto, or I don't care. I just want to cash. Then I go Noah Gray. But like, if that extra, what is it, 1,400 or whatever, opens a lot up, then I'd go Alberto there. I don't think there's that big of a difference.
Or I would also add, like, if Noah Gray, if you put Noah Gray, if it's for a large field GPP and Noah Gray like hits the max salary for you, at that point I would pivot down to Alberto, just because you're probably going to be duped a lot if you're using the full salary cap. If you put Noah Gray in there and you're still leaving 1,000 on the table, I'd probably stick with Noah Gray.
Let's take a look before we get out of here at the Sims, Jordan. He ran it. We still got 1,600 people with us. I love looking over this each week because it gives us insight into what some of the highest simmed ROI lineups are, because the contest generator is just essentially trying to build out the field that you're going to be playing in.
Yeah.
And then we're ranking these lineups, right? You're factoring in ownership and projection and all of that stuff. So let's see what we have here. Neil, where do you want to start? You want to start at lineups or exposure?
Let's start looking at some lineups.
All right. So first one, highest simmed ROI that we have is Mahomes, AJ Brown, Chiefs, Eagles, Jake Elliott, and Travis Kelce. So no Hurts, but you're getting Mahomes, Brown, and Kelce in that. Not bad. Both defenses, a little scary, playing for a lower scoring game. The third one down, I definitely like. I'm going to read this to you, okay? It's 49.8. No dupes when we ran the contest generator. Third highest simmed ROI, Kelce captain, Alberto, Chiefs D, DeAndre Swift, Jalen Hurts, and Mahomes. Man, I like that because the Eagles are a team where you could see this work in a multitude of ways. Like, one, Swift and Hurts just get all of the touchdowns on the ground. Or what if Swift catches a touchdown? Or like I actually have zero problem. I have a lot of lineups that I built that looked like that, where it was, Kelce, Mahomes, and then I went cheap elsewhere, but I got Swift and Jalen Hurts without Devontae Smith or without AJ Brown.
Yeah, that looks like a really strong lineup. Mahomes, Hurts, with Kelce at captain. And then we have, is that Chiefs defense, Alberto,
Yeah,
Chiefs defense, and DeAndre Swift. So yeah, Jalen Hurts, you're playing him with just DeAndre Swift as the pass catcher. But if you can play any quarterback with just kind of a secondary pass catcher, it's Jalen Hurts. So yeah, that looks like a really strong lineup to me. And yeah, if it's zero dupes here in 5,000 lineups, it's gonna be duped some in the large field GPP, but at least gives you the hope that it's not gonna be duped 50 times. Maybe it'll be duped 20 times.
Jordan, did you run 10,000? Or
okay. 10,000. Okay. Wow.
Okay, here's our first Jalen Hurts captain lineup, Neil. Hurts, AJ Brown, Eagles, Noah Gray, there's Rashee Rice, and Travis Kelce. So it's actually pass catchers for Kansas City without Mahomes, but Hurts, AJ Brown, and Eagles defense.
Yeah, that sounds really strong.
Here's your Devontae Smith lineup. Ready? Patrick Mahomes, Devontae Smith, Eagles, double kicker, Harrison Butker, Jake Elliott, and Travis Kelce.
So we have Mahomes at captain, and then Travis Kelce, his only pass catcher.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, he has been running enough this year that I think that's viable.
There's a lot of diversity in these top lineups. A lot of times we see them real similar builds. Looks like there's a ton of diversity in how these are built. Like, look at all the different captains. Look at the kicker, no kicker, D, no D. These are, I like it this.
Honestly, because I try to like play a diverse set of lineups anyway, just for like risk management purposes. So when it naturally gives me that in the top ROI lineups, this is the kind of slate where you can just play them. You can just play the top ROI lineups and not have to go out of your way to get more diverse.
Absolutely. Yeah. And another thing too, to consider, if you're talking captain position, 43% exposure to Travis Kelce right now, 25% to Mahomes. And then it kind of drops off. Jordan's filtering by it right now. AJ Brown, 12, Jalen Hurts, 12. Look at that. I mean, we basically have just all of the captain ownership concentrated between two guys, steep drop off, another two guys, then just like 1% for everybody else.
Yeah, really. Yeah, Devontae Smith included there, and DeAndre.
Well, I guess the thing that stood out to me is oftentimes you and I are going to run these sims, and we're going to have lineups when you have 150 that you've favorited, where you have cheap captains, like at least sometimes. But the cheap captain does seem difficult to get to. I mean, like, what cheap captains can you really fall in love with here?
Right. Yeah.
Are there
I
any?
mean, Justin Watson, I guess, but yeah, none that you can fall in love with. Justin Watson, like, I can get it. Like, he's, you know, a large field, or sorry, he's got the possibility of a long touchdown.
A point
Yeah,
that
but
you've
yeah,
made to me before, though, and it's a salient point for sure, is that if you go Justin Watson at captain, how many other people are like, you're going Justin Watson dirt cheap at captain, so you can just play all of the top guys.
yep,
And you think you're getting unique, but the problem is that so many of those lineups are going to look identical to yours.
yeah. Especially if you have Justin Watson at captain, I'd rather leave like 1,000 plus on the table,
Yeah.
just so I'm not going to be duped a million times.
Good stuff, man. Follow Neil at Player Q DFS. Checked out the threads that he does every Monday and Thursday for these games. Super valuable. Follow me at Loughy_D, LOUGHY_D. I'm going to get that son of a bitch's handle if it's the last thing I do, man.
Elon, come on, listen to us, Elon. That guy hasn't been active in a decade.
He hasn't been active since 2009.
That's just so insane.
And he has 8 followers. I think 7 of them think they're following me because they also, it's nonsense. Go on Twitter, guys, please, and at Elon, and tell him to give the Laffy handle to me. You know, that's probably just going to reactivate his account and be like, oh, he's active. But do it anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Do it anyway.
Help Laffy out here.
Spam him to the moon.
Yes. I'm in. I'll spam him.
Shout out to Jordan Klein for producing this one. We'll see you guys back here soon. Appreciate y'all. Good luck tonight.